Hey, vinyl fans, welcome to another episode of Let's Clean a Record. As we promised, we're going to put the Degritter ultrasonic record cleaning machine through its paces for you. Once we get through the introduction, we'll do an unboxing so you can see how this is packed when it's shipped. Then we'll do an initial setup where we just take it out of the box, put some water in it, and clean a record. You can see how it works in its most basic functionality. Then we'll get into the more detailed, the more flexible functionality that this machine has. It is by far the most customizable ultrasonic that I've ever come across. A lot to know there. Then we'll do a demonstration where we use all of that functionality to get the best out of it, to show you the best practices for cleaning a very dirty record. Then lastly, we'll show you how to clean the machine itself. Actually, not lastly. Next, we'll show you how to clean the machine itself. And then lastly, we'll show you how to upgrade the machine with future software updates. There is an SD card slot built right into the back. So kind of cool. We've had this for just over a week. I've been taking notes, and there's a lot to say as to what we like about this machine. Let's start with the way it was packed and shipped. Beautiful packing job, really nicely done. I think that's important. The owner's manual is very nicely laid out, crystal clear. That's rare with ultrasonic machines. So kudos to Degritter for a great owner's manual. Some of the design features in the unit itself are worth noting. There are 4 transducers. That's nice. There's also something called pulse mode. It's automatic. It's imperceptible, but it's actually turning on and off the way on a very rapid basis. And the reason for that is to sort of enhance the cavitation process and also to use less energy in the process. Keep your electric bill down, I suppose. In addition, rather than just the transducers are putting out not just a steady frequency, but a sweep between 120 and 125 kilohertz. That also helps even the cavitation, the energy within the water. A nice touch. What do we have next? Filtering. There's continuous active filtering, and those filters are easy to access, to clean, and to replace when they eventually can be cleaned no more. Here's another feature that's cool. Automatic cooling cycle. When the water reaches an internal temperature of about 95 degrees, it's getting a little too hot for a record, it will automatically extend the cleaning process, bring in fresh air, and cool that water down. That's really neat. Here's one that's cool, the drying times. Now, the drying time itself being adjustable, that's not so unique, but you can also adjust the fan speed. So if you find the factory setting is a little too loud for your taste, you can turn the fan down and perhaps have it go a little bit longer. Nice touch. There's a post-wash rinse option, which I think is really cool. By the way, this machine is fully automatic. Just like the KL Audio, drop it in, come back at your leisure. Let's see the buttons themselves. These buttons have a very secure feel. You know when you've pushed it, when you've turned it. I like that very much. The tactile nature of those buttons are fantastic. Perhaps subjective, but I think it's a good-looking machine. What do you think?
I think it's beautiful.
It's lovely. And it's also,
It's pretty lit too.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
The backlighting is nice. I also think, I don't know if I want to call it compact, but it doesn't take up any more space than is absolutely necessary. So I like that as well. Oh, the tanks. Let's talk about the water tanks here. They're plastic. They fit nicely into the back. You get 2 of them. One if you want to use record cleaning fluid in the process, and then the second one if you want to follow it up with pure water. One nice feature of these, yeah, that's nice, huh? One nice feature of these tanks, you can clean them in a dishwasher. Pretty cool. It's also, from an electrical perspective, it's switchable from 115 volts to 230 for our friends on the other side of the pond. I mentioned the SD card slot, so it's sort of future-proof. That's nice. Just the screen on the front and all the indications there. When we go into the deep functionality of this machine, you'll see all that you can learn from that little screen, and I think it's really great. There's a degassing function. Not all ultrasonics offer that. That's important. I think it helps get the bubbles as small as possible to get deep into the groove. What did I note next? Oh, you'll notice that when the record is rotating through the ultrasonic bath, it isn't just spinning at a steady state, but it's actually moving back and forth, as it makes its way around to the full revolution. That's really a unique approach. There's a pre-soak function, which I really like. I would use that for a very dirty record, I suspect. And also the way this machine will keep track of things like, well, the serial number, the model number, the version that you have, and most importantly, the total number of cycles, the lifetime cycles that this has gone through. So really kind of cool. If you can't tell, I like this machine very, very much. So stick with us. Let's go through the process and you'll learn everything you need to know about the Degritter. Let's get to it. Is it Christmas Day all over again? Boxing Day? No, it's unboxing day. We're going to unbox the Degritter. Let's get to it. Box arrived in good nick. Looks like nice packaging. What do we have here in a little slot? What the heck is that? Oh, it's their record cleaning fluid. We will put that to the test.
Yes, we will.
Instructions and accoutrement. Cable. Very nice packing. I like that. Guessing that's the reservoir. There we go. Nice, tidy packing job. It's a good looking machine, isn't it?
Looks awesome.
It sure does.
So no assembly other than maybe inserting that? Or just
Let's
a replacement?
It does look to be pretty much ready to go. We will, of course, peruse the directions so you don't have to. Some extra parts. A medicine dropper. That looks like a pH tester. How about that? Is that what that is?
Oh.
No, that's not a pH tester. Oh, well, we'll find out. Microfiber cloth of some sort. Nice. Looks like some styrofoam plugs. Storage drives. Ooh, a sticker. How fun. And various brochures. And the important part, the user guide. Looks well laid out. Very good. All right, guys. My job now is to peruse this. Make sure that we set it up properly. We'll record that for you. And then we'll get to work cleaning records. All right, let's get to it.
All right.
Okay, guys, for this segment, we're going to show you a quick setup. If you just want to take the machine out of the box, get some water into it, and clean a record. Maybe you just buy brand new records right out of the shrink wrap, or used records that are not very dirty. You could get away with simply taking it out of the box and starting to use it. So let's start with that process. Obviously, you're going to plug it in, and you start with turning the machine on with the little rocker panel, little rocker switch on the back. And as you'll see, it tells you you've got no water tank in there. Kind of cool. As far as the water is concerned, you want to use either distilled or deionized water. I would recommend distilled. Oh, and here is the tank that comes with the machine. There are obviously two of them. One if you want to use record cleaning fluid, one for a pure water rinse. And there's a little marker right there with the minimum. You want to use as much water as you can fit in there, but we're not going to get too worried about that right now. It comes with a nice little handle, by the way. Could you use this as a purse, perhaps? Let's double check. Yep, it's above the minimum. Very good. Place her in the machine. You're going to hear some sound from the machine once it recognizes that it's in place. There you go. Going through its paces. It'll let you know when it's ready. Got a record here for you. Okay, once the machine indicates a time, you'll know that it's ready to go. All we need to do, insert the record and push the start button. You're going to notice that this machine does not spin the record continuously like, frankly, every other ultrasonic machine I've seen. It goes back and forth. That's the way it works. It also varies the frequency. Once the ultrasonic cycle is finished, it will automatically dry the record. And when that's finished, there'll be 3 beeps to let you know it's ready. And you can just leave it there until you're ready to pick it up. Kind of like the KO Audio in that respect. It's a fully automated process. You're going to hear me comparing this to the KO Audio frequently. As you see, you get a countdown mechanism as well as different lighting of the segments to tell you whether you're in the ultrasonic section or the drying section.
And it goes back and forth as
I
it advances.
just love this idea of taking it back and forth as it makes its revolution. In our next segment, I'll show you how you can change the number of revolutions that it goes through, probably dependent upon how dirty the record is. By the way, this record, Ella and Oscar, wonderful recording on Pablo. Chad Casson just mentioned that he's now reissuing Pablo records.
Oh, that's fabulous.
This one's an original, yeah, from 1976. But if you can't get your hands on an original, check out Acoustic Sounds, or your favorite record dealer of Chad's output. Now we're transitioning from the ultrasonic. The water is draining back into the tank. And you're gonna hear the fan start up in a second. Okay guys, so that's all there is to it. If you want to take this machine straight out of the box and use it, put some distilled water in it, that's it. It's pretty simple, straightforward. You can just leave it sitting there until you're ready to pick it up. It'll go into standby mode after about 15 minutes, but don't need to worry about that either. Now next up, we're going to show you about all the functionality in this machine, things you can customize and how you can maximize the cleaning process. But this looks like it does a pretty good job straight out of the box, so let's get ready for our next segment. Okay, now what we'd like to do is to take you through the various functionality of the machine, and specifically those functions that can be adjusted by accessing the internal computer. Before we get to the various functions, let's get water in the tank and the tank installed. Obviously, you want to make sure you fill it to at least the min line.
Where's the line?
It's etched into the side of the tank right there.
Okay, cool.
The more water you can get in without spilling it, the better. Go ahead and set it in the machine. Place our little lid. Now when we turn on the machine, it'll know that the water is properly in the tank and ready to go, and then it'll prime the pumps. One other thing to note, if you're cleaning multiple records, You don't necessarily have to completely shut the machine down via the rocker switch in the back. If you just press this button, depress it for 3 seconds, it'll do a soft shutdown. Still keeps the machine warm, but turns off the main functionality. Okay, let's get into our first adjustable function. First thing to look at are the various programs. By rotating this knob, you can change from the default setting of 2 revolutions to 1, and you can see the total cycle time obviously drops, back to 2, 3, or as many as 4 revolutions. And you choose which one you want simply by pressing the button. The next functionality that comes up is the total drying time. 3 minutes and 30 seconds is the default. I think I'd like to take that up a bit. Let's change it to 4 minutes and 30 seconds. Now it's set. The next function is the degassing function. It's set at 215, and every time you put water into the machine, the first time you want to degas it. So go ahead, push that start button, let it go through a cycle. You can see now the water returning to the tank. There you go. You always get 3 beeps whenever the intended function completes. Now, the reason you want to degas is that by removing gas from the water, it improves the cavitation process. It improves the cleaning process by making the cavitation bubbles as small as possible, allows them to get deeper into the groove. So as I said, you want to degas when you put water in for the first time. You also want to degas if you put record cleaning fluid into the water. That would be a second time to degas. Let's go into the settings menu, and you do that by turning one more to the right and pressing down. And as you can see, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different functionalities that could be accessed through this menu. Let's start with the first one, which is the pre-soak indicator. When this is lit, the pre-soak is on, and we like the pre-soak, especially for dirty records. Well, it pre-soaks it before the ultrasonic kicks on. If you don't want the pre-soak, give it a little click and it'll turn it off. We're going to leave it on. Second setting we're going to talk about is either 1 or 2 tanks. If you're just using distilled water and the ultrasonic process to clean your record, then you want to go ahead and leave it at 1. If you're going to use 2 tanks, one first with record cleaning fluid and water and the second with a pure water rinse, then you want to hit that and you'll get 2 tanks there.
Does it fit into the same slot, the second tank? You
Yes,
just remove it?
both tanks are identical. One you would fill with water and fluid, and the second one with water only.
Swap it out.
And swap it out, exactly. When we show you the full cleaning process on a dirty record, we'll demonstrate how that works. For now, I'm just going to go back to 1. The next bit of functionality is the filter runs. How many times have you run through this particular filter? After 50 cycles, you'll get a note saying it's time to clean that filter. And once you do, you can reset it to 0 by holding it down, and there you go. It'll reset to 0. It'll let you know, as I said, after 50 cycles have gone through the filter, it's time to clean it. The next adjustable function is the fan speed. You might ask, why would I want to change the fan speed? Well, it's not the quietest fan on the market. That is true. However, if you find it a little too intrusive, you can turn the fan speed down. That will just mean you will need, however, to increase the amount of time that the fan operates if you're going to thoroughly dry the record. I'll show you how it starts and how it changes. There's our default. And that's about as low as it can get. Or if you really want to dry something quickly, crank it up. That's pretty loud, cranked all the way, so I would warn against doing that. But it's a cool feature that you can adjust that fan speed. So this is the water level setting. This allows you to change the water level in the tank. You press the right button to switch between the water levels. As you can see, going to 3 is appropriate for 7-inch records. It does require an adapter, by the way, for 7-inch 45s. This takes it furthest away from the label, and you might do that if you've got a record clean fluid that tends to foam up a bit and you don't want to get your label wet. But for most 12-inch record applications, the center section is what you want to use. The machine also comes with a measuring system, which we'll demonstrate when we do the thorough clean. But for now, I would recommend leaving it on the center section if you're cleaning normal 12-inch records. The last functionality is really just information about the machine, the serial number, the version of this Mark II Degritter, and the total number of cycles that have been through the machine. I think that's a really cool function. So you just know how much the machine has been used. And then lastly, the water temperature, which can be featured in Celsius or with a push of the button, Fahrenheit. We're here in the States, so we're going to stick with Fahrenheit. So once you've set your temperature to Celsius or Fahrenheit as you wish, you can go ahead and hit the stop button and then move your settings back to your preferred 4 revolutions, 3, 2, or 1. We're going to go ahead and leave it on 2. And at this point, you're ready to use your machine. Okay, so we've shown you how to use this machine straight out of the box, which is probably perfectly fine if you buy brand new records only. But what if you have an old record, a very dirty record? That's what we want to show you now, how to get the most out of this machine for a very dirty record. For that purpose, we grabbed an old one here, an old one, but a good one. This is Beethoven Sonatas from 1958. This is quite the international record. This was recorded in England, pressed in England, but check that out. It made its way somehow to New Zealand through Australia, and now back here to the United States. This is one well-traveled disc. Let's start with what is perhaps the most important step when dealing with a very dirty record. We're going to utilize 2 tanks. One will have water and record cleaning fluid, one just pure water. Now, what record cleaning fluid you use is up to you. Degritter does make their own, and that's what we're going to try for this case. So how much record cleaning fluid to use depends upon the directions on the bottle. For the Degritter fluid, they recommend a maximum ratio of 1 to 500. This is about a 3.7 liter tank, so maximum maybe 2.5, 2.6 milliliters. If you want to go less than that, that's perfectly fine. So anywhere from just under 1 milliliter up to that 2.5 or 6 is what I would recommend. Since this is a dirty record, we'll get it closer to that 2.5. Now, the way I like to do this is to first insert the tank. The water is already in there. Open up your bottle. This medicine dropper does come with the machine, by the way. A full medicine dropper is about 2. Oh, look at that, just over 2. That's perfect. That's just about 2.5 liters. Go ahead and drop it into the water. You can use the dropper to sort of swish it around a bit and make sure it's thoroughly mixed. But before we engage the machine, we're going to degas it. So let's do that now.
Did you mean milliliters?
What did I say?
2.5 liters.
No, that would be a lot of record cleaning fluid. 2.5 milliliters. Okay, now that we have the record cleaning fluid in the tank, and as you can see here, I have the second tank with the pure water ready to go. But before we utilize this, we're going to want to degas it. So take a look here at, first of all, we do have the pre-soak indicator turned on. Obviously for a dirty record, you want that. I also have the maximum number of revolutions, which is 4. So that's good. And then secondly, you can see in this little icon here are 2 tanks. It'll indicate when it's time to take one tank out and put the other one in. But before we start, I think I can do this upside down. Yeah, let's go. Well, by the way, this is the drying time, which we've set to 4 minutes. There's the degassing time. So let's go ahead and degas this batch. All right. Those 3 beeps indicate that the gassing function is complete. The water is back in the tank. So all we need to do now is move this back to our setting that we wish to choose, the number of revolutions. And as I said, we're going to stick with 4, which is the most. That's what we want to choose for the dirtiest of records. Take a look though, 14 minutes and 30 seconds. That will be our total cycle time. So it's not a quick process if you're going to do the maximum cleaning regimen here. So let's get started. You can always use the Giotto blaster to blow off any large particles before putting it in the machine. That never hurts. Or you can use a carbon fiber brush. By the way, one quick thing. We set the water level to its medium setting. Frankly, unless you're cleaning 7-inch 45s, you're probably never going to need to mess with that. The machine does come with this handy little guide here in case you're dealing with an oddly shaped, or I should say oddly sized label. But the idea is you just hang it over, and as you can see, the highest setting of water would touch the label. So we don't want to do that. That's why I left it on the medium setting, which is fine for, I suspect, 99% of 12-inch records out there. Okay, we are ready for our first cycle with the record cleaning fluid. Let's go ahead and set the record down.
Woohoo!
Very exciting, I know. And to start the process, you just, we'll see you in a bit.
Change tank.
Okay, those 3 beeps do indeed indicate that it's time to change the tank, meaning to take out the one with the record clean fluid and insert the one with the pure water. By the way, when removing these tanks, it is possible you might have a drip or 2 of water. It's okay, it's not going to hurt anything, but in case you do have, if you set this on some delicate surface, then certainly put down a towel. This handle is quite handy, I must say. We'll go ahead and set that to the side. Now this one is just pure water. By the way, you can put the lid back on, but it's not absolutely necessary. You can see the water now draining down into the machine. This just keeps the dust out. And as soon as that's complete, it will start its pure rinse cycle. There you have it. The very dirty record cleaning process complete. By the way, I mentioned previously that it's a nice feature that this can just sit here. You don't have to pick it up right away. After 15 minutes, the machine will go through an automatic soft shutdown, and you can pick it up after that, or you can put it on the turntable right now. So let's take a quick visual. Yeah, it looks very clean.
Sure does.
It really does. I'm just going to set this aside, share with you our plans. What we hope to do this weekend is to clean 10 records, actually 11, just clean this one. I've got 10 records set aside. We're going to listen to them before and after and use the most powerful tools that we have at our disposal, our ears, to determine how effective the cleaning process is. Once we're done with that and we've made our notes, we're then going to take you through the process of cleaning the machine as well as upgrading the software. and then we'll have final thoughts. So let's get to cleaning some more records. All right, fellas, what a day it was yesterday. Check it out. 10 clean records.
Ah, sweet.
Very nice. But before we get to how we thought the cleaning process went, we want to first take you through how to perform proper maintenance on the machine, how to clean the machine. So first of all, let's take a look at everything you need. Starting left to right, we have 200 milliliters of distilled white vinegar with 10% acidity. We have isopropyl alcohol. We have some clean water for cleaning the filter, a bowl to clean that in, another bowl for the alcohol. We also have a coin. I recommend a nickel. That's for opening the cap that pulls out the filter. You want a rag for little spills. Over on the right, we have both of our cleaning tanks. One should be completely filled with distilled water. The other, keep it empty for the time being. We're going to put the vinegar in that tank at some point, fill it up the rest of the way with water. That's part of the cleaning process. Before we start any cleaning, it's a wise thing to turn the machine off and unplug it, which we have done. If you see any spillage, any drops inside the area where the tank fits, you can just quickly dab those up. And the first thing we're going to do is clean the filter. About every 50 cycles, you should clean the filter. That's what this little coin is for. Just insert it, twist it counterclockwise. By the way, I like putting the machine on a towel in case there's any spillage.
Righty-tighty, lefty-loosey.
That is correct. All right. Excellent. And there you see what the filter looks like. All right. It's got a metal mesh around it, the cotton filter inside, and then there's an O-ring. And by the way, replacement O-rings come with the machine, also spring, which I think is very nice, and filters as well.
Oh, that's great.
Probably not cotton, some sort of petrochemical, I'm not sure. But the point is you can clean these by hand, but once they get too dirty, you'll want to go ahead and replace them. Like I said, every 50 or so. We only have about 15 cycles through this machine, so this is looking just fine. We'll put it right back in. Which way was tidy?
Right.
Righty-tighty. There you go. Okay. Now we begin the cleaning process that you really should undertake every 200 cycles or so. I wouldn't let it go much more than 200 without cleaning it. First step is to remove this rubber gasket around the slot. It's not glued in. Comes right out pretty easily, like so. Set that aside. And here's where we want to get the isopropyl alcohol. By the way, this cleaning process it's fairly involved. Hang with me here, guys. I got notes. So first thing we're going to do is brush the inside of the tank with the toothbrush and the isopropyl alcohol, right? Then we are going to change the settings on the machine to just one revolution with the highest amount of water, as though you were doing a 7-inch 45, and no drying time. And we'll insert the pure water, and we'll run it for 2 cycles. Okay, then we take out that water, and we put our vinegar with 10% acidity into the other tank, fill it up the rest of the way with the pure water, insert it back in the machine, and run it for 3 more cycles. Also with only 1 revolution, no drying time, highest water level possible. In the middle of that process, we're going to pause it and let that vinegar sit in the tank for 5 minutes or so. Then we'll let it continue and finish. Once we have done that, we will then switch over to the maintenance program, which is accessed through the front of the machine. You basically go to the degassing cycle and hold down both buttons. That'll run the maintenance. We'll do that with pure water for 3 more cycles. Again, 1 revolution, highest water, no drying time. It's a pretty thorough process. And here's how it works. So let's first start. Just put a little bit of alcohol in here. Get your toothbrush nice and wet. And basically, you just want to sort of rub up and down around the machine parts. We're not really scrubbing so much as we are just spreading the alcohol around the plastic parts. It'll stick where it needs to. Get it on the rollers. This machine is still pretty clean, I can see, but you get the idea. Don't be afraid to use as much as you need. It won't hurt it. And there you go. Now we're going to plug the machine back in. We'll put the water back in. This is just pure water. We'll have to do that or the machine will say, hey, I sense no tank or no water. There we go. Plug in our machine. Go ahead and turn it on, let it do its thing. Okay, the machine is plugged back in. The pure water is in the tank. Now we're going to move it to one cycle, just one cycle, and we're going to take our drying time down to 0. Then we're going to go back up to our program and we're going to eliminate any pre-soak. We'll just go with 1. Filter's fine, fan, and we're going to put the highest level of water. Back down to 1 cycle. See, just 2 minutes and 15 seconds. Now we'll run the machine, no record in the machine, pure water, run it 2 cycles. Okay, that's our first cycle. Now we'll do one more. And by the way, the purpose of this initial pure water rinse is to get out any of the isopropyl alcohol that we use to scrub the inside of the tank. Okay, now what we want to do is remove the tank with the pure water, set it aside, take our empty tank, 200 milliliters white distilled white vinegar, 10% acidity, pour it into the tank, into the empty one. It smells like vinegar.
Surprise. It smells like Easter eggs.
It does. And then fill it the rest of the way up with your distilled water, just to the min is fine. There you go. Now, same settings as before, highest water level, no drying, and 1 revolution. We're going to run it 3 times now. But during one of those cycles, we might as well do it on the first one, we're going to pause it and just let it sit for about 5 minutes and let that vinegar do its thing. So let's go ahead and start. I'll let it get to about a minute or so before I pause it. There you go, paused. Got your chronograph, set it, 5 minutes, come back, finish the cycle, and then we'll do 2 more cycles. Cue the dancing kitty. Okay, it's been 5 minutes, so we're going to go ahead and finish this cycle and then do 2 more. And by the way, while I'm doing that, I'm going to take the original pure water, dump it, and add more fresh distilled water. Why? Because this had the isopropyl alcohol in it. So if we want to be as thorough as possible with this cleaning process, that makes sense. So while this is running, we'll put fresh water in the tank without the vinegar. Okay, number 2. Okay, third and final cycle with the diluted vinegar. Okay, so now we've run 3 regular cycles with the diluted vinegar. Now we're going to do 1 maintenance cycle also with the diluted vinegar. And to do that, it's going to be a little difficult to do upside down, but I want you guys to be able to see it. We're going to move this to the degassing function right there. We're going to press this button down while holding it, press the other. Basically press both buttons at the same time. That's the maintenance cycle, pretty quick. Now, the last phase of the cleaning is to remove the tank with the vinegar, replace it with pure water, and do 3 more cycles, same as before, just 1 revolution, the shortest time frame, highest water, no drying time. That's it, our third and final cycle. So at this point, all that's left to do is to remove the tanks. You can take them to the kitchen sink and clean them out with soap and water. You can also put them into a washing machine, not a washing machine, don't do that. A dishwasher. Yeah. Just be sure not to use the high settings on that. Frankly, I would just wash them by hand. But once you've done that, this machine is clean, spick and span, and ready to go. Oh, of course, one thing you do need to do is reinstall the rubber gasket. Then it's ready to go. All right, fellas. Okay, a few more things before we wrap this up. Charlie mentioned to me, perhaps we should show you how to clean the filter. Didn't really need it, but I'll take that out in a moment and we'll go through the cleaning process together. I also wanted to mention, in the cleaning of the machine itself, you saw us go through the maintenance cycle. If you recall, we went to the degassing function, pressed both buttons at the same time. That maintenance feature, which lasts under a minute, basically pumps water in and out through the valves, helps keep them clean. That function will start automatically on its own on the 60th cycle and then every 50 cycles thereafter. So I just wanted to mention that. I thought that was a pretty cool little feature. Before we get to cleaning of the filter, I wanted to show you one other thing. If you recall, when we were looking at the various screens, the one screen that showed the serial number, the total number of cycles, whether the temperature, whether it was Fahrenheit or Celsius, it also showed the version. And I'm talking about the software version. One of the really, really cool features about this machine is that you can upgrade as the company upgrades their software. It even comes with a cool little SD card. Is that what they're called? SD?
I do believe, yes.
SD card, and it's branded with the Degritter name. If you don't have one of these, you'll need to use one that has 16 gigabytes, because that supports, what's the file name? FAT16 or FAT32. I don't know why they call it FAT. Chubby?
Like pH?
No, like FAT. Perhaps rotund. I don't know. In any case, you can go to the Degritter website. We'll put that up on the screen. And then there's a slot right here in the back for the SD card. You just slide it in with the little metal bits facing to the right and start the machine. Anyway, being able to keep the software up to date, I think, is an excellent feature of this machine. Okay, before we get to final thoughts, let's get out our handy dandy coin and open up the filter one more time. Of course, the machine is off, the water's out, it's unplugged. So let's clean it together. I've got this little bowl. I'm sure you could take it in under a sink, but we'll try to do it right here. There's the little O-ring, and basically you can grab this guy, I believe, yeah, and pull it right out. There you go. I'll set this aside. You will want to wash the mesh itself. Again, this is not really all that dirty. But there you are. And then as long as this is not too dirty, you can just go ahead and rinse it. Oh yeah, that comes out nice. If you've cleaned a bunch of really dirty records, just go ahead and replace it. There must be, I would say, at least 10 replacement pads in there for you. And when you run out of those, you can buy more direct from Degritter. We'll slide that guy back in. Yep. O-ring back on. Get her started. You do want to make sure that's nice and tight so it don't leak. And there you go. We have a clean filter. All right, let's head downstairs for final thoughts. Okay, fellas, before we get to final thoughts, I wanted to clarify something I said previously about the water levels. You can choose 3 different water levels with the Degritter. The highest one is for 7-inch 45s. The middle setting is for, which you're probably going to use 99% of the time, your standard 12-inch record. What is the lowest level for? I wasn't quite sure, but I looked into it, and it's really for 2 purposes. One, they do make an adapter for 10-inch records for the old 78s. So if you're cleaning those, you'd want to choose the lowest level. Also, there's some old 12-inch records that have larger than normal labels, or if you're just paranoid about getting your labels wet, really won't hurt them. But if you are, choose the lowest level. So that's what that's for. All right, let's get to final thoughts. It's been over a week since we last filmed anything to do with the Degritter, and in that time, I put it through its paces, cleaned dozens more records, everything I could throw at it. And I got to tell you, I absolutely love this machine. Let's compare it to some others that you may know. I think that'll help you understand why we like it so much. The first comparison I would make would be to the audio desk. Been around a very long time. The audio desk is unique in that it allows you to use an ultrasonic process with a record clean fluid in the water. So does the Degritter, but the Degritter comes with none of the downsides of the audio desk. The next comparison I would make would be with the KL Audio. It's true the KL Audio is probably the best built ultrasonic machine out there. If I owned a record store and was cleaning 50 to 100 records a day, I'd go with the KL Audio. But if you're a normal record collector or audiophile, I prefer the Degritter. And the last comparison to make would be with the Kermes, the full Kermes restoration process. I would have to give the nod to the Kermes if you're going for the absolute ultimate fidelity. There's something about the Kermes process that lowers the noise floor just a bit. It sounds like the record is just a tiny bit louder.
The blacker sound.
A blacker background, you're absolutely right. However, the Kermes process is extremely lengthy, time-consuming, manual, and back and forth. If that's not your jam, I would recommend the Degritter. It comes extremely close as far as the extent to which it cleans the record, and it is perhaps among the ultimate in convenience. So that's our review of the Degritter. I hope you like it, and we'll see you with the next record.